Welcome, everyone. We'll wait as everyone starts squeezing through the Zoom door. We'll get started in a couple minutes. Good to see you all. And for those of you logging in where it's very early or very late, thank you. We do appreciate this. We had to make a slight adjustment to the time for the session due to a conflict that I have, but we're glad you're here. All right, the numbers seem to be stabilizing, so I think we'll get started. Welcome to the School of Computer Science and Carnegie Mellon University. My name is Tom Cortina. I am the Associate Dean for Undergraduate Programs in the School of Computer Science. I'm also a teaching professor in computer science. So one day, some of you might actually have me for a class for the students who are preparing for this fall. Actually, you will have me for a class this fall. I just thought about that because we have a first year immigration course, which I do lead with Veronica P, who's joining me. You'll see her there in the participants. So, and Veronica will be talking to you in a little while, right, about the program and what to expect. So this talk is really about just, it's really for the parents, although for students that are listening in as well, there's information for you as well here, or things you can tell your parents if your parents are not logged in currently, or if you're watching the recording later, of course, there's information here and a way to contact us if you have any questions at the end of the talk. So first of all, this is interesting because when we've done these presentations before the pandemic, you would be in the McConomy Auditorium with us in the main auditorium on campus, and we'd be welcoming you to the city and such. And we will do that with our meet and greet next week on Sunday. If you come and visit us, Veronica's going to nod her head. I believe it's 12 o'clock next Sunday, and she gave me a thumbs up. In right outside of Rashid Auditorium, which is in the Gates Hillman Center. That's sort of the center complex for computer science. We will have a meet and greet. It is in your schedule when you're moving in so that you know if you want to join us. There's no presentations for the meet and greet. It's really just to meet Veronica, myself, some of the other faculty and advisors who you may see in the first year and beyond in the School of Computer Science, just to get to know some people, and we'll like to welcome you, and we'll have some snacks for you as well. So that's when we'll get to really welcome you to Pittsburgh. But for the students that are listening, or parents of the students, you know, your children are going to be spending 4 years in this city, and most of you are probably not Pittsburghers. So we hope that you will enjoy your stay in this great city that we live in. This is downtown. Of course, we're not down here in terms of where our university is located, but we'll get there. And we're famous for a bunch of things. And I always tell our students, you're here for 4 years. You should absorb some of this, since this is a significant part of your life. For example, Andy Warhol, right, was raised here in Pittsburgh, and there's a Warhol Museum on the north side. You can't quite see the north side. It's on the left side of this picture over that bridge. But there's a great museum there that students can go and see his artwork. We also have big events. This one's a little dated now because this happened in 2009, but there are usually national events that happen in Pittsburgh, so you will see us in the news. President Biden was here last year to tout the infrastructure bill. So we often get very important visitors, not just in Pittsburgh, but at Carnegie Mellon. So you'll get to go to talks and hear what they have to say. One thing that students learn when they come to Pittsburgh is there's a certain way to eat a sandwich. This is a restaurant called Primanti Brothers. And that was one of the first things I did when I came to Pittsburgh. Someone said, you have to go here. What they do is they give you the entire meal on the sandwich, including the fries, including the coleslaw, and you must eat it that way. If you do not eat it that way, you will get scolded. All right. So, and and ask them about the history of that. There's a reason why they do this. All right. And it goes back to the old steel days. And of course, our university is named after Andrew Carnegie. You'll hear "my heart is in the work" quite often when you're at Carnegie Mellon, because everyone who's at Carnegie Mellon is very passionate about what they do. We have, I didn't update this one slide. Oh, geez. Well, we have also a history museum, the Heinz History Museum. And we have a football stadium, which used to be called Heinz Field. It's not anymore. It's called Acrisure Stadium. I watched one of our pre-games last night, actually. So we have teams as well. So those who are interested in sports, we have professional teams like the Penguins and the Steelers, of course, who played last night. And well, yeah, and we had the Pirates too. Okay, so let's move on. Where we are in terms of Pittsburgh, where Carnegie Mellon is in Oakland, which is sort of the university district of Pittsburgh. There are universities and colleges around the Pittsburgh area, but there's a cluster of them right in Oakland itself. So you're looking at Oakland here. Downtown is to the top left. So that's where we're kind of oriented. And you're looking towards the west here. And then what we have here is Oakland is this sort of city-like area that I'm circling. Carnegie Mellon is just here to the bottom and to the right of that. That is Carnegie Mellon, along with some museums right next to us. And the Phipps Conservatory is next to us also, which is a great place to visit. Along with Schenley Park, which a lot of our students go and hang out in. Really, really large city park, all right next to us. Zooming in, now we're actually looking towards the east. So I turned the camera around. These are pictures online. And this is Carnegie Mellon. And what I'm circling towards the left is the Gates Hillman Center. So this is sort of the center of computer science, although computer science is in several buildings, including this one, Newell Simon Hall, and a new one, which is off the picture here, just below on Forbes Avenue, called the Tata Consulting Services Center, which has our Institute for Software Research. So they all offer courses in computer science and related disciplines. Veronica is reminding me that there is a Q&A in case you have questions as we're going along. Veronica's monitoring that, and you can post there and she'll answer as we're going along in case any questions come up. But we'll have a little time at the end as well. Zooming in, this is going to be your new home for 4 years. This is the Gates Hillman Center, opened in 2009. So we're about 13 years old now. And a great place for collaboration, for study. So the building's open 24/7. Students often stay late at night, sometimes a little later than I'd like them to, working on projects and homework. Watch Veronica's face because she made a face there. And but there are study spaces and collaboration areas for students to work on projects and homework together to a point, okay, because there's certain lines we'll talk about in the first year seminar about, like, how much can you collaborate with others. Certain classes, there's team projects and you do. Other classes, they do expect you to, to do the work yourself in terms of, writing up the solutions and submitting them. And you can't see it, but Veronica and I are in this little wing of the building right here as you enter the building from the main campus side here. So that's our space. That's where you're going to be. Now, for the students, of course, I welcome you. For the parents, I welcome you as well to Carnegie Mellon University. We are world-class faculty conducting world-class research. That's why you applied. And it informs our world-class courses. And we teach them to world-class students. The students we have in our program are phenomenal. Now, when the students start the classes, because of that, the faculty all know that the students here are extremely brilliant. So they raise the bar in all the classes to make them rigorous and tough. So students who come here who have been the top students in their classes in high school suddenly find that they're not the top student at Carnegie Mellon, and that's a surprise to them at first. But we always remind them that they are smart, all right? They got into Carnegie Mellon, and because of that, we are challenging them. And many students take up that challenge and start to adjust how they study, how they work, how they collaborate, and realize that that we're going to be giving them more problems that are open-ended. than they used to get where there was just a set solution. And they have to really think in a deeper way. We will provide opportunities for students to grow, of course, intellectually in the courses, but also socially, culturally. We'll have events during the school years, and even emotionally. For the parents of our students coming in this fall, if you're listening, the student that you'll see when they graduate 4 years from now will be very different than the student that you're leaving here at Carnegie Mellon as a first-year student. Oftentimes we hear this at commencement where the parents say, "Oh my gosh, my son or daughter, my child has changed so much, has matured so much. I don't even recognize them." But in a good way. This is unbelievable what has happened. Now they always thank us, but we say to students, yes, we put the challenges in front of the students, but the students do it, right? They're the students who actually solve the problems, who make the changes. Now, there are different student backgrounds, expectations, there's advising that we'll talk about, and resources. This talk is aimed mostly at the parents, although if there are students listening, you'll gain information here as well, right? Some of this will be targeted to you, particularly through your parents. It's mostly at the parents, though, for this talk. Oh, world-class parents. Okay, keep that in mind. All right, so you're all great. Now, the student backgrounds that we encounter, the different situations we encounter as we're advising, as we're teaching. There's many situations as there are students. Every student has a unique situation. All of our students do not go through the program lockstep, same courses every semester for 4 years, right? I often say to Veronica when we're talking in our meetings, it's like herding cats, right? It's like, once we get past the first semester where it is mostly standardized, although there's a few options in the first semester, then at that point, the students really start to scatter, and there are paths and requirements, but we give them options as to what courses to take first and what minor or concentration to pick and so on. So you have to give us some time to sort of figure them out, all right? We're here as faculty and staff to understand whatever the situations are. We spend a lot of time in the first year getting to know our new students, and then we provide advice and help based on things we've seen before. And Veronica and I, and Christine Kenger is now joining us too from Student Affairs. We combined have many years of experience. I don't want to tell you how many, seeing all these different situations. So yes, we'll see some themes that, well, yeah, we've had some students that have been in that space or tried that option. But we understand that every student's different when we listen to their story. All right, give us time to learn about your students, your child's life story. We have to figure out why are they making the decisions they're making. All right, and then when we figure that out, then we can actually advise them. Okay, we've been doing this for many years, so give us a little time to sort of figure them out. Every student that comes in is a puzzle to us, and we figure what's going on here with some students. All right, and some students take us a little longer to figure out than others, but we're there to help. Of course, as parents, you can provide us advice. We might even reach out to you if we need some context. But if you have some information, something that you think, you talk to your child and something doesn't seem right, you can reach out to us. Reach out to Veronica as the first year advisor, or to me, the associate dean, and we'll have an email address at the end of the talk. You can reach out to us and we will then connect with you. We can't talk to you about grades, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but we can, if you send something's up, we can start to explore that. Now, your expectations, getting into this place was really difficult, and Veronica is going to describe that in a few minutes to you. So congratulations, first of all. So give yourself a round of applause. This is great. Okay, Zoom applause, whatever it happens to be. All right, you got in. And every admit is an outstanding student. So you would think that, wow, a lot of people are going to be the top student of the class, but how is that quite possible? So let's try a simple demonstration. So we have a poll that we'd like you to try out. This is for the parents, although for the students here, if your parents are listening, whatever it is, you can answer for them. Or the student, if you're here and your parents are not in, you can answer for them, basically. So if we could post a poll, we want to know. This is for the parents, but if you're here, this is a student, your parents not here, you answer it. Do you think your child will be in the top half of the class? So I'll give you a moment to answer that. You know, given their background from high school and everything they've done in high school, do you think that they'll end up in the top half of the class? Okay, so we'll give a little while to answer that. I'm going to ask my, okay, here we go. Oh, look at that. Okay, we have results. Oh, wow, interesting. Okay, so this is kind of what I expected. This is what happens usually when we're live together in the auditorium. You know, I ask a question like this and almost everybody in the room raises their hand. Okay, now we can't have 93% of our students be in the top half of the class. Mathematically, you all are very smart, so you know that that's not possible. Okay, so it's interesting that this always comes up, and we have usually a little fun with that. However, I would say that probably 97, 98% of you will do extremely well anyway in the program and graduate, and you'll be fine. All right. It's not that when students come into the program, we assign grades so that the students are completely spread out from 4.0 all the way down to 0.0. You know, the high majority of you, way over 90%, will be in the 3.0 area. I mean, you're going to be, you know, in the B area towards an A. You're still going to be doing very well, but you're not going to be necessarily the top student in the class. Okay. In fact, this class, I think we have about 122 students. Is that right, Veronica? Right. Yeah. So let's say I'm sorry, 222. So let's say we have 220 students in the class. You have a 1 in 220 shot of being the top student, right? So, you know, sometimes I say, get over it. It's okay. You know, you're not going to be the top student probably, but you're still going to be a strong student here. Okay. So staying in isn't too hard. We don't graduate many students with a 4.0, but quite a few with 3.5s. And when they graduate in 4 years, and that earns you university honors at the university. It's kind of our version of summa cum laude. And we often, when we have our honor ceremony and we award these university honors to these students, it's a long ceremony because we have so many students earning university honors. Okay. Well over 90% of our students finish, most in 4 years or less. Right. So we have a very good graduation rate. Now you might wonder, what about those other students? Well, a few of them transfer majors. That does happen, not too many. And if you take more than 4 years to finish, you know, it all depends on their situation. Now, our expectation, so your expectation is supposed to do extremely well. And as you've seen, we've kind of set that in context that you will do well, but doing extremely well like you did in high school might not happen, but you're still going to do well. Okay. And then you have to understand what that definition is, of course. Our expectations is to go to class and pay attention, not like this. All right. Manage your time well. Right. So we don't want to see students that look like this. Extend your comfort zone. Right. Try to take some courses or work on some activities, organizations that are just a little bit outside of just the simple you just go and relax. Try to challenge yourself and grow a bit, but within reason, of course. Right? Meet new people and try new things outside of class. Right. And, you know, we've had these issues in the last few years where people tried to meet new people, but they had to socially distance, of course, even while they were trying to do that. Challenge yourself in CS courses, but other subjects as well. We do get some students who say, well, I need to do some general education and I want to take courses that are easy there, so I can just take the hard courses in CS. And we tell them, for your career, you should be challenging yourself across the board. Okay? So you should be pushing yourself, right, to find things that are of interest to you that will get you to grow. More expectations we have. Make sure you eat regularly, but not like this. Okay. Sleep, but not in class, right? Not on a bench like this either. This does not look comfortable. Make sure you exercise. We have some students who told me, oh, I haven't done that in a while. Make sure you exercise. Okay, that's a good way to exercise. All right. And of course, bathe. We get a few students who get so wrapped up in their code and their projects so much, they work for days on end that they forget that the other people are around them. So, well, you know, just make sure you take care of yourself. But more seriously now, if there's an issue, if you have a health issue, a physical health issue, or a mental health issue, we have services. You do not have to fight this by yourself. So go to the University Health Services for physical issues, or the Counseling and Psychological Services Office for mental health concerns, right? If you see something, say something. So we do tell our students, and for our students who are listening, or for the parents who are going to talk to their children, we will talk about this in the first week in our seminar. You might not feel yourself that you're suffering from anything, a physical issue or a mental health issue, but you might see one of your friends who might be suffering. You can reach out to us, Veronica or me, and say, one of my friends seems like they're suffering. We will confidentially reach out to them and see how they're doing and see if we can provide some support for them. Okay, we're all in this together. And at some point along the way, whoever it is, and we all know this, Veronica and Christine and I, eventually we all need help in one way or another, right? And we need to reach out to someone. Okay, so we do have these services available. Now, I've been waiting to hear the big news and around the nation that the pandemic is over, but it's not over yet as far as I've heard. So we want to give you some advice here. Monitor your health every single day. And there is, there is a health survey. They don't ask you to answer it every single day, but they do have one online where you can kind of monitor your health. So you should check on that. There will be information for you very soon about mask wearing and requirements on campus. We're waiting for the announcement from the university. I'll tell you right now that if it's required in class, you are to wear a mask if it's required in class, and wearing it properly. Wash your nose and your mouth, okay? And there's lots of supplies of masks on campus in case you forget yours or lose yours. If there's any risk of transmission, if you're in a group event, like we're gonna have our meet and greet next week, we encourage you to wear masks if you're gonna be there, all right? It's just safer that way. This way we can all try to stay healthy. Keep your social distancing when it's possible. In classes, they'll give you advice, because obviously there you're gonna be sitting closer together. But when you're in these social groups, things like that, just try to keep your space when you can. Make sure you wash and sanitize frequently, right? And there's lots of places on campus to do that. There's lots of sanitizing stations and such. Follow all instructions posted on campus, right? The university will give you, as students, they will give you guidelines, including vaccination requirements and policies on campus. You must follow those. Staff and faculty must also follow those, right? For the students, if you don't follow those, it could lead to a university sanction. So you want to be careful, and please ask us questions if you're not sure. And the university will send updates. So you want to make sure you read your email and just look for something from the university. Read those. I know you're going to get a bunch of emails from the university regularly, but they're important, right? Because they're giving you the rules of the road. Now, resources that we have. We have faculty and teaching assistants, we call them TAs, that will help in every course, okay? And they're there to support you. Many times, Veronica and I, when we see a student struggling, we'll talk to them, and they'll say, I'm really struggling in the course. I don't know what to do. I think I'm going to drop the course. And we ask them, have you talked to the faculty member? Many of them will say, no, I haven't talked to the faculty. Because they think, well, there's a lot of people in the class and there's the faculty members there and they wouldn't want to hear from me. They do want to hear from you, right? And they do have office hours, all of us, including me. I teach as well. I have office hours. Come and see us or send us an email if there's a conflict, and we'll find a time to meet, right? We can give you advice, right? Maybe it's just studying a different way and then suddenly you'll see things click, right? That could help. The teaching assistants are there also to provide support and help, particularly on homework, of course, as students start to work on them. And you can work with your fellow students, of course, but to a point. So one thing we'll talk about during orientation, after you all moved in and you meet with Veronica and me, is we'll talk to you about academic integrity, which is extremely valued at CMU. I've been to several universities and it's really valued here. Doing your own work when you're supposed to be doing your own work. And we'll give you some examples as to how far can you go, and it varies by course, right? We also have academic advisors. Veronica Pete, who you're going to hear from in a few minutes, is the first year advisor. In fact, well, you're going to hear from her in this talk. For the students in the room, you've heard from her through email all summer long, right? With information, getting things prepared so you can get your schedule set up. Okay. So you're going to hear from her. Once you declare your major, you'll transition to a new advisor, academic advisor that is, who will be your advisor from sophomore year up through senior year until when you graduate. And they're specialized in that particular major, whichever major you pick. If you happen to do research on campus, you may get a research advisor, someone who will guide you on that particular research project or research study, and maybe even guide you on decisions about graduate school. And then we have additional services. So we have liaisons in many of the departments on campus to work with us directly in the School of Computer Science. For example, I think you're going to get a message from Kevin Collins today or tomorrow because it's in my queue. He's from the Career and Professional Development Center. He's our connection to the Career Center, and he works with SES students exclusively. Right, so he knows what the companies are looking for. He knows how to write a tech resume. He can help you with interview skills. There's lots of things he can do. The Career Center as a whole can help you generally, but he's targeted to us. In addition, in the what we affectionately call the hub, that's where you do things like financial aid transactions and enrollment questions and your student ID and things like that. Working with the university itself. Erica Tatrai is our financial aid liaison. If you have any questions about your aid package, if you have any questions about paying a bill, things like that, you can reach out to Erica Tatrai. When you log into the student information online system that you log in when you want to register, when you want to look at your account, her name is listed there as an important contact. Right, so she's the one that you would contact. If you ask us, it's fine. We'll connect you with Erica, right, because she has access to that information. And there's many other departments on campus that we hope you'll take advantage of, you'll use. The Student Academic Success Center deals with tutoring and extra help for courses and time management and study skills. And many students say, oh, study skills, I don't need that. And after the first semester, they go, hey, you know what? What's the name of that department again? Because studying here and studying at college is very different than what you had in high school. University Health Services, of course, and CAPS I've mentioned to you before. There is an Office of Disability Resources. In the event that you're working with a disability that may impact your learning, whether it be a physical disability or a learning disability, you should reach out to Disability Resources. And I believe Veronica has provided information about that, and we'll remind you about that during the first year seminar. There is a Center for Diversity and Inclusion for students who want to sort of form community, right? And that's available in our university center. And for students who want to get involved in research, besides what you can do within the school, there is a university level undergraduate research office where they can help you apply for grants to do research, right? Whether it be computer science or not, and to look for opportunities for that and for grad school. In addition to all of this, we also have a connection to student affairs for housing, for student life, things like that. That part of your experience. So remember, we told you you're going to grow emotionally, you're going to grow socially. It's not all about the courses. Yes, you'll be taking courses, but it's all about your experiences, your new friendships, your relationships, and things that happen on campus. And our student affairs representative, our liaison to the student affairs group, is directly working with us only for this task, and that's Christine Kenger. Christine, could you just say a few words and welcome our parents and students?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Tom. Hi, I'm Christine Kenger. I work in our Office of Residential Education. My primary role, I'm actually a house fellow for one of our first year communities. So I oversee first year students that live in Stever House. But I've been at Carnegie Mellon for this is my 12th year, and have been working with undergrads and SCS for the last few years. So while you're on campus, most of you will have a house fellow that will be your primary point of contact within student affairs. But I meet on a weekly basis with the advisors. We talk about things that are happening for students that are sometimes outside of the classroom. So, sometimes folks become really involved in a student organization and it becomes clear that they're having difficulty there. So I will be the person that sort of helps to make those connections with things in student affairs, helping students to get connected to our counseling center or to university health. If you choose to move off campus in your upper class years, then I become your primary point of contact. rather than your house fellow. So I will meet all of you during orientation, and then many of you may not see me again until you may decide to move off campus or do something like that.
Yeah. Well, once in a while, Christine will reach out to a student, if we've sensed that there's some things that are kind of connecting academically and also personally or socially, and there's some issues that may be starting to arise. She might reach out and say, have you talked to the academic advisor? We want to make sure you're okay. And you may wonder, who's this Christine? She's the one who works with us in the School of Computer Science. Okay, thanks, Christine. We do encourage you to challenge yourselves. So there are opportunities to do things like this, whether it be a course. This was part of a course where some students of ours took the course. It was about social issues and computing, and then they built an app to help blind students. And then they went and deployed it, all right, in a class in India, I think it was, where they deployed this. So they went over a summer and they actually worked with the students for a while. We had students that do study abroad. This is one of my own advisees from a bunch of years ago, who decided to go to Japan for a whole year because he wanted to work in Japan once he graduated. He just loved Japanese culture and all. So we told him, why don't you do study abroad? And he did for a whole year. We have students, of course, doing research in our labs, coming up with new ways to interface with computers. We're working on planetary robotics, is another favorite of our students. And we also have what we call SES Day, which Veronica and I host. But we don't create this show. It's a talent show. The students, there's a student committee that actually organizes the entire show, and students who perform, and some faculty perform as well. And then Veronica and I just introduce the acts basically. But you'll see when you're here in the School of Computer Science, there's a lot of talent besides coding. So challenge yourself. So what we do is, this is for the parents, what we do as academic advisors is we advise and we advocate for our students, but we do not make decisions for them. So if you contact us and say, my student should take a certain course or whatever, or have a certain professor, we will not do that. Okay, we will advise them, give them the best options of which courses to take together in terms of balancing their load. And then they will talk to their peers and they will look online and try to get information as well. And then they make decisions. Okay, we will cheerlead for them. But if there are things that are not quite right, we will sound the alarms for them. All right. And if we need to, we will reach out to you as parents, right? If we need to, right? But oftentimes a lot of things can be solved within the university. We will interpret policies, which sometimes come out as letters, right? If they're sent to students, but we'll interpret them. So if your student gets a letter from me, right? You may say, what does this letter mean? We can explain it to you and tell you what it means. And, it has to do with the academic policies that are published in the undergraduate catalog. If a student's not doing so well academically, we provide warnings for the student to let them know that we are aware of this, right? And we try to come up with plans for them to try to write everything up. We will provide information for parents, but only subject to FERPA, meaning if you ask us about certain grades in classes or how they're doing academically, we can't answer those questions, all right? We are bound by this law that we're not allowed to do that, okay? You can ask your student, of course, and for the students who are listening, all right, or for parents who are telling their students, please communicate, all right? You really need to communicate in order for this all to succeed, okay? So we will provide information, but it's subject to FERPA, right? So at some point we're going to tell you we can't go any further. We can't cross that line. What we don't do is we're not going to be a parent in absentia. All right. Although some of our students kind of start treating Veronica and me as mom and dad, but we're not parents in absentia. They do have parents. All right. We're not going to be a messenger, intermediary, or spy. So please don't ask us to tell the student something and then the student tells us, tell my parent this, and we go back and forth. We're not going to do that. We're going to say, talk to each other. Okay. And we won't prevent students from having any 8 a.m. classes. It happens. Right? We've actually had parents ask, please don't allow my student to have an 8 a.m. class. They can't get up that early. Yes, they can. They have to go to bed a bit earlier in order to get up for the 8 o'clock class, but they can. And we won't find the easiest class that has no work. Sometimes students ask us that, and we just chuckle and we just say, next question. All right. So, we want you to find courses that are relevant to you, that are important to you. If they don't have a lot of work, great, but you should be looking at what's important to you. Parents, this is how you can help us. Listen and really listen to your child. When you talk to your child, when you talk to our student here, listen to what they're saying. Read between the lines a bit. Of course, don't nag, but listen. Find out what their days are like. Trust your child. Your child's going to make decisions, and sometimes they may make a decision that you don't like. But you've got a whole team here that can catch them in case they make a mistake. Now, I know there are some parents we worked with who say, I want my child to have a 4.0. I don't want them to make any mistakes. And we try to talk to them about the fact that everybody makes mistakes. It will happen. So, and how they respond to those and how they adjust to the mistake and adapt. It's the long-term picture of what they get out of Carnegie Mellon, not one individual exam or one individual assignment in one individual course that's going to determine their career outcome. Expect a few surprises. You may find that your child wants to change a major, right? Or get involved in some exchange program or something like that that you never thought they would ever do. Students grow when they're in Carnegie Mellon. I've seen it year after year after year. And it's amazing some of the things that they want to do they never talked about in their first year. And suddenly they want to try out something. Give them some room to grow. Stay connected, but let them make those decisions. And accept the consequences, knowing that we're there to catch them. Right? We can't fix the mistake if there's a mistake, but we can say, okay, next semester, don't take so many classes, or take this with this, and then they'll see their grades improve. I have a very sensitive mouse. I apologize there. 3 questions you should be asking. Are you learning new things? Are you working effectively? And do you enjoy what you're doing? Okay, so think about those 3 questions when you talk to your child. If they're generally giving you positive responses here, then they're good. They're fine. If you sense anything is really off, reach out to Veronica and me. Okay. For the students, those listening, or for those who are going to get advice from their parents, right? Here's how you can help. Talk, really talk to your parents. Right? Tell them what's going on. Try not to obfuscate things, because you do that, eventually they're going to figure out what's going on. And then at that point, it could be messier. Talk to us as advisors as well. Let us know what's happening. Understand that we have some perspective, right? We've been doing this for a long time. So oftentimes we get students who say, oh, but you don't understand. I'm doing this and you've probably never seen this before. Well, we've probably seen something similar for all the years that we've been doing this. And check your email daily. If you get an email from Veronica or from me or from the university, read it. This is for the students, and answer it. All right. If you got a jury summons, for those who would get jury summonses, if you got one in your mailbox, right, you need to answer that, right? Because we often reaching out to you, not because we just want to have a chat because we're lonely. We're reaching out to you because there's something important that you need to know. So very rough guide to the 4 years before I hand it off to Veronica. This is for the parents to get an idea of what 4 years is going to be like. The first semester this fall is what we call the calibration semester, adjusting from high school to college. Some adjust very quickly, others take a little while to adjust to the new environment, new friends, new location, living on your own for the first time for most students, of course. We have the first year immigration course, which I teach with Veronica. And you'll get to meet a lot of people in the School of Computer Science in that course. There are programming courses that we offer in the first semester, and students have been kind of guided into which course they'll start with. And then we also have Foundations of Math for CS, or Calculus, and first year writing, or possibly a different gen ed if you didn't get into first year writing in the first semester. All of our students take first year writing sometime during the first year. They can't all fit in the first semester because we have too many students for the English department. So we do half of them in the first semester and half in the second semester. The next 3 semesters are what we call preparation, getting ready for sort of the core of your discipline. Our students choose their major. We have 4 majors to choose from: computer science, computational biology, AI, or human-computer interaction. Students will choose their major during the second semester, once they've gone through the first year immigration course. And a few students also sample little minis that give them a little taste of what these areas are like. They additionally take some more core computer science classes to get the foundation ready, along with some more general education in humanities and arts and science and engineering, depending on what they need. Right? We tell students not to hold off on the general education. Taking these courses help them with their writing skills. They help them with their presentation skills, not just the particular subject that they're studying. And that will help them in their computer science courses. And then they explore their particular area. They take depth courses in their particular major. There are other technical requirements, typically in math, that students have to do. There may be some more general education. Some of our students who are really successful spread the general education out throughout the 4 years so that they have something different to study along with all their technical work, rather than grouping it all together and trying to either get it out of the way or leaving it to the end. Right? They actually spread it out and they get a much more balanced semester and they feel healthier too. They'll also pick a minor or concentration, maybe get involved in research or study abroad. There are leadership activities and outreach, and this is where we will connect with Christine. Okay, so that's what the 4 years are basically set up as. So that's what I had to say for you to introduce you and welcome you and the parents to the School of Computer Science. I'll have a few parting words right at the end, but at this point, I wanted to transfer over to Veronica, our assistant dean for the undergraduate experience. And Veronica's going to tell you a little bit about the first year class. Veronica, just tell me 1, 2 events.
Okay. Thank you. Hi, everybody. So we're just going to talk about numbers right now, and nice to virtually meet everybody. We'll get a chance to get to know each other better since all of you are here. You're going to have, there's one piece of advice before you come here is to keep in mind is you need to sleep during orientation week. It is very, very busy and there is a lot going on. And there's, as Tom and I talk about it, it's kind of drinking from the fire hose. There's just so much information that comes on. So just make sure that you give yourself time to recoup for the next day because it's a long
Don't
night.
sleep during the orientation events themselves.
Yeah, at night.
Okay. Yes, I just want to make sure I make that clear. Okay.
Okay, so I'm talking around a cough drop right now because I'm having allergies. So I'm just apologizing to everybody to begin with. But what do you think in your head, little piece of paper, open up a notepad thing, what do you think 11,794 is referring to? Okay, I'm going to let you ruminate on that. Okay, next slide. It's the number of first-year applicants who applied. Last year, it was 10,820. You keep going up every year, the number of people who are applying to the School of Computer Science at Carnegie Mellon.
And that's not even just the university, right? That's just the School of Computer Science.
Just, yeah, there's about 35,000 applicants for all of them, but a full third of them are applying to the School of Computer Science. Okay, next slide. What do you think 397 refers to? Let's think about that for a second. I think some of you might be understanding what we're doing here. Okay, next slide. The number of people who were admitted out of those 11,000 people. Okay, last year we admitted potentially too many. It was the year after the pandemic. More people said yes, so we had a whole bunch of people who were here this last year, so we backed off a little bit so everybody can fit in classrooms. Next slide. 222. Tom gave you a little bit of a hint about this one earlier, and I like the number 222. It's cool. It's even. I was a math major. Okay, next slide. Let's see what it looks like. So this is how many people are in the first year cohort in the School of Computer Science.
That should be 222. I guess there was a typo there.
Sorry, yes,
Yeah.
last
So
year it was.
222 is this is the actual number. For
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah, I didn't update that slide.
Yeah, that's okay.
222. So that's how many people are going to be in your first year seminar and divided among the CS and math classes. Okay. And now next slide, I think there's one more. Okay, next. So
Well, I think you want this. So
yeah, go ahead. You could jump in, Tom.
yeah, I was just going to say, when you look at these numbers, you see why we congratulated you at the beginning of the talk. for the parents, congratulations, getting in, and getting into our first year class and actually being here. It's a tremendous feat,
Right.
right? When you see the numbers and you realize who you're up against, very, very smart people. And we found our first year class.
Right. And we're really excited that you're coming.
Yeah.
Okay. So our next number, 110. Think about what you think that might be referred to. We have numbers flying around in our head. Everybody got their idea? Okay. It's a little bit more modifying. So 49.5%. Let's see what this refers to. So this is the number of women who are in our first year class. And that is one of the things that makes Carnegie Mellon very unique in the number 1 through number 5 programs in the country in computer science is parity, gender parity. And we've worked very hard on this for over the past 10 to 12 years to make sure that gender equity is a part of our program. Okay, next slide. 53. What do we think this is? Okay, next slide. This is 23.9%. It's the number of first-year students from underrepresented backgrounds. So again, diversity, equity, inclusion, huge parts of what we think are important as a university and within the School of Computer Science. Okay, and we will talk more about this throughout the first semester and during orientation, how important diversity is for a strong community and how it actually adds strength to all of the programs at this university. Okay. You might have some idea of where the decimal point is placed about what these numbers might mean. So 3.34 and 3.32. Some idea? Okay. What does it stand for? So last year, the first year class averaged a 3.34 GPA, we call it QPA here, in the fall, and a 3.32 in the spring. That's a solid B+. That's very good for a first year at a place like this, in a program like this. Okay.
And that's without all the students coming in, where many students were in high school or near a 4.0, if not at a 4.0 or even above.
Yes.
Right. Here, the courses are more challenging and more rigorous, and students still do well, but the grades start to spread out a little bit now, because now we're starting to get a bit more finer differentiation.
Anything above a 3 is a victory. Be very happy with that. Okay. And so our next, so this is an interesting one, 3.6 with the number 20. What do you think that is? Next. So that's the average QPA of the people who graduated this last year in fall and spring. Right? And 20 is the number of people who actually had 4.0s. That's actually larger than it usually is.
It's usually not that high.
Yeah, it's usually somewhere between 6 and 10. So.
But we also had, a pandemic in there too. So there was one semester where students were able to basically erase grades.
Right.
Yeah, because of the pandemic, and there were some anomalies, there, but still, still strong students.
It is very strong. And, the pandemic kind of isolated people a little bit. So less socializing, more studying, more 4.0s. That's how that sort of worked out. But again, it's fewer than 10%, right? It's a very small number. So that's not something that you should aim for. And there are a lot of students that we've talked to over the years who have a 4.0 their first semester, a 4.0 their second semester, and they talk about the pressure that they feel to maintain that. And as soon as they get their first B, it's like, oh, thank God, I don't have to work for 4.0 anymore. So it's fine. If you can maintain it, that's great. If not, no one's disappointed, and you shouldn't be either. So I'm tossing this back to Tom, who is the expert in wrapping things up. Lovely talking to all of you, and I will see some of you next weekend, and then throughout orientation and fall.
Yeah. So, what's on the screen right now is a sort of phrase we like to use. Our previous first year advisor used to say this a lot. you were a big fish in a small pond when you were in high school. You know, you had lots of successes, and and the teachers all kind of gave you all kinds of opportunities and all. Now you're a small fish in a big pond, and you're still going to be okay. You're going to swim around, you're going to be fine, but you're going to see there's a much bigger world around you now than you've had before. Right. So it's just something to adjust to. All right. And we also say, don't study hard, study smart. Right. So some students will study and study and study and read all their notes and things like that and spend hours and hours and then struggle on an exam. And it's because they weren't being very efficient in how they studied. Right. They just kind of try to put lots of hours into it, thinking that that would translate into a higher grade. Right. So make sure that you study smart. Don't study hard. Okay. This is the email address for the parents in case you want to reach out to us. Do I have that address correct, Veronica? Okay. SESfirstyear@cmu.edu. And that will go to Veronica and me in case you want to reach out to us about any concerns for the parents. Of course, the students know they can reach out to this email already because we get it to them. And I want to wrap up with the following final slide. Okay. So what's next? Now, this talk, traditionally before the pandemic, I would give this talk during move-in weekend. So all parents, you'd all arrive on campus with your students, with your children. You'd move into the dorm, get everything set up. We'd have some events for parents on Sunday of orientation week, which would be next Sunday. And at that point, then we wish you well. Okay. So what's next? Well, now it's time to let your children learn to fly. Okay. So the analogy I always give is, you raise them in the nest for maybe 18 years, 17 to 18 years ish. And now they're going to be on their own. Okay. And what you've taught them through those years in terms of what type of person they're going to be and how they're going to behave and such is now going to be tested to see how things go. And we're here to help, right? That's the whole point. After move-in, next Sunday, assuming you're on campus to help your child move in, your return trip home will be one of the longest trips you've ever taken, right? Once you get to that point where you've left them and you're going back home and now they're going to be away for a long period of time, but it will be okay. Okay. We hope that we've shown you in this talk that there are lots of resources that your child can take advantage of, encourage them to do that, and that we are going to be watching them throughout the school year, throughout the semesters, right? And working with student affairs and working with the other departments to make sure they have as many successes as they can have, okay? And if they stumble at any point, we're there to help them stand back up again, okay? And move forward. But it's time to let them fly from the nest. And it's going to be difficult next week. We understand that, okay? But we're here to support you. But we do have events where we do encourage you to come back to visit us if you'd like to. There is a family weekend in October, I believe. Veronica's nodding her head. And then there's also Spring Carnival in April, usually in the spring. Events where you could come and visit for a day or two, and there's typically events for the parents while we have these going on, so you can reconnect with us, see how things are going. And of course, we will see you again in 4 years at commencement. All right, so we're really looking forward to that, and it's great to see all of you when that happens. To see all our students at the tail end. Okay, of course, for some of you, we'll see you next week at our meet and greet, which again is on Sunday, the 21st, from 12 to 1 p.m. It is in the Gates Hillman Center on the 4th floor, outside of what we call Rashid Auditorium. It's the main auditorium on the 4th floor, the main 4th floor. That is the floor you enter if you come in from Forbes Avenue. For those of you who have not been to Pittsburgh before, you'll notice in Pittsburgh that when you enter buildings, sometimes you enter not on the 1st floor, but on the 4th floor or some other floor because of all the hills we have and such. So buildings are built into hills and things like that. So it's not likely you're going to enter the Gates Hillman Center on the 1st floor. Not likely, unless you come into the parking garage. So maybe we'll see some of you next Sunday and get a chance to talk and wish you well. And then we'll see our students, of course, during orientation and into classes. Again, here is that email address If you wish to contact us, write that down, put it in your kitchen drawer or whatever, wherever you keep the important addresses, and reach out to us if you need us. Veronica, do we have any questions to address or anything that
We didn't. I answered them on the fly.
okay, very good then. So we're looking forward to seeing you all next week. And good luck to everyone. Thanks for attending our talk.
Have a lovely rest of your weekend.
Yep.